Islam, 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 and welcome to Sister Standing on Law. This is your host, Anita Ill, along with RVBey.
Islam, peace and love.
All right. It is, it's interesting because a lot of times when we, sometimes we have a topic that we want to discuss long before the broadcast begins. But sometimes, oftentimes, we are, pulling stuff together, like shortly right before the broadcast begins. And in this case today, like 1 minute before we went live, we actually decided, let's talk about this. This is a wonderful subject to talk about. The broadcast is entitled Candid Conversation and Discussion with Our Sisters, but what's being added as we speak is Secret Teachings of John. And the Secret Teachings of John is highly suggested reading for all mothers, daughters, and sisters. Because when you read this, and it's a book that's often referred to as the Secret Book of John, or the Secret Revelation of John, and the Apocryphons of John. It's also referred to, and this book, you can get this off of the RVBey Publications, RVBeypublications.com, Sisters Standing on Law page, and click on Secret Teachings of John. And you can find what has been published of that writing, I believe, 11 pages.
That's a short.
It's the Secret Teachings of John, where these are ancient writings. Let's see. Let me go read the description because it's right off of the RVBey Publications website. Secret Teachings of John. It is also highly suggested all mothers, daughters, and sisters read the Secret Book of John, also referred to as the Secret Revelation of John and the Apocryphon of John. It is important to acknowledge that most religious texts are written of the ancient ones that have been adopted into various religious sects without recognizing the source is the same, the ancient ones. The Secret Book of John can be found in a book, The Secret Teachings of Jesus, wherein there are 5 other books inside of it, none of which were included in the commonly utilized King James Version of the Bible, Biblios Heliotek Record of the Sun. And so we here at RVBey Publications on the website have provided it below in a PDF format, 11 pages. It is in support of how and why the opening of the 7th seal is the awakening of Wombman, and absolutely assists in concepts of creation and civilization in heaven and on earth. That's the intro on the RVBey Publications website. It's also a portion of the intro that will be updated on the blog talk. And I can tell you, I read, and I think I had the book, that book that you're talking about with the 5 different, the
5 books that are in it, the Gospel of John,
books,
the Book
yes,
of John,
the Secret Teachings,
yeah.
Right, the Secret Teachings of Jesus. I have that book, and believe it or not, I read that book years ago, along with the Gnostic Gospel or the Gospel of Gnos, and also the Apocryphons or Apocryphias.
Yeah.
And most of when you read that, you really get a better understanding. If you can keep in mind that much of what has been written in this book called the Holy Bible, or even like the Bhagavad Gita or the Quran, much of these writings, they are actually historical writings Many of them actually, some of the stories actually happened, and then some of them was written in a simile metaphor format, would have the necessary keys to assist them going forward. Now, and keep in mind, these things were written by you in a past life to be used in your future life to wake up. We left clues because we understood reincarnation back then. We don't understand it today, but we understand reincarnation back then, so we knew that because of certain things that we did, we were going to be coming back, because reincarnation and karma simply means that whatever you came here to learn, to expand your spiritual growth, if you didn't learn it, you got to come back. You got to perfect these lessons. Are you doing something wrong?
You know what? I just printed out the secret teachings of John. You must have heard my printer. It just stopped.
Yes.
I apologize. I should have muted it. Like I had. I'm sorry.
So we understood reincarnation. It was so absolutely understood. Reincarnation goes hand in hand with karma. All right. And none of these things are horrible things. They're simply lessons to learn. That's it. Everything that we're experiencing it's either residual from something we didn't learn that we're back to learn, or it is a new lesson in, like the scheme of things. It is a new lesson. And let me tell you, one of the ways that you can tell if this is a old lesson that you still haven't mastered is if it's tearing you up. If it's, look, remember the first temple, and for me, the only temple is the body. When you read these sacred texts and they talk about how sacred and holy the temple is, they are talking about your physical manifestation. But your physical manifestation in the flesh and blood being is not necessarily, well, I guess that is a holy temple, and then the spirit, you would be the holy of holies, right? So now, if you don't get that is a holy temple, it is like a sacred place. If you don't get that, you're going to be destroying it. And so one of the ways that you know if you're not getting a lesson from the past, because they're all the same, they build on each other. If it's destructive, if it's destroying the holy temple, the holy of holies, and your mind, then that is a lesson that you have not grasped from a past life, and you come back to master it now. So this information that is constantly being brought to us is here to help us to overcome the self-destructive tendencies that we seem to embrace that do nothing for us, and we must let them go. So in reading the secret teachings of John, actually all of the ancient texts, you will find yourself, you will find what you're here for, and for the sisters, if you read that secret teachings of John, you will know exactly why you're here and exactly why you may not be in a happy situation, because we have work to do in correcting what we orchestrated, we sisters. And here's the thing. We're the only ones that can do that. And we say it all the time. The prophet said it. It's right on the cover of the 101. When you read the secret teachings of John, it lets you know without a shadow of a doubt how things got kicked off and why we're in the situation that we're in. And for those of you who may not have read it, the secret teachings of John actually is, for example, you know, you have these books, movies, sometimes they give you like what I think it's called the prologue. Prologue, I think it is. It is enough information to give you so that you can get why something is happening. So it gives you enough information of what happened before Genesis.
As well.
Nobody tells you. Nobody told you how Genesis got kicked off. Well,
yes.
Because, see, like Genesis is the formation and creation of planet Earth and all that's on it, but they don't tell you, well, what happened before? You know, most Europeans, they'll tell you, oh, you just some slime somewhere. That's not even consistent with universal principles. Really, it's not consistent with universal principles. If you understand universal law, you know, in the first chapter of the Quran, for Divinely Prepared by Prophet Noble Jew Ali, it tells you that man is mind. So you could never have been slime. You had to have been nothing, which is the void. And then came thought. So what is the thought that was in circulation prior to Genesis? Well, that story was cut out of the Biblios-Heliotext, today referred to as the Holy Bible, because that would be your secret teachings of John. Right? Which is an absolute necessary piece of information, because in Genesis it tells you that man was formed, and then woman was formed of the rib of man, but then, you know, further into the Biblios-Heliotext, it talks about the Son of God or the Son of Man.
And it says, who is man that thou fearest him?
That
thou art mindful of him, and the Son of Man that thou visitest. That's in there. So there you go, right? But I want to say this. Yeah, but we're discussing this book of John. But first, what you're seeing here really is, and we all see it, but we may not get into it. As above, so below is what you're talking. As above, so below happens. Like we said, this is pre-Genesis, right? Because Genesis is the genes of Isis, which is the physical manifestation of certain and varied beings, if you will. But everything is as above, so below. Now, how do you relate the as above, so below to where you're standing and sitting right now? Start with looking at the above being your mind, where the seeds of thoughts are, and then from there you can grow and know and understand and overstand what exactly as above, so below is, because it is a reflection. And what you were talking earlier about karma is really as above, so below. It's really that you have eternal life, can't be in the physical. So you know that we're talking about the mind, which is the universal mind bank where all thought or all seeds are planted. Those seeds are your thoughts, and your thoughts are heard. They have weight. They are heard whether you know it or not. Now, who hears them and who graces them, or who enforces them or fertilizes them, or what energy does, it's absolutely dependent upon you and what energy you have around you that will help to perpetuate your thoughts. That means the energies that are unseen and the energies that are seen. That's how they manifest. That's how they get fertilized and manifest. Because if you plant a seed and it doesn't get water and it doesn't get the sun, I'm talking about on the earth now, it's not going to grow because it doesn't have the right things around it. So you got to look at your seeds of thought the same way. However, first, what I wanted to say is about that book of John, because you did a little story about how you realized you read it a long time ago. Well, same thing with me. I had the book because a friend of mine who owned or rented out various houses had some tenants leave, and when they left the house with some books in it, and they thought that I would like these books. So that's how I obtained the book first. I put it on my shelf and never read it until one day I was watching a movie called Stigmata. So for those of you who have watched the movie Stigmata, you can buy this. And at the end of the movie, it talked about how the book of Thomas, at that point they were talking Thomas. Now I'm going to tell you, I read the book, The Secret Teachings of Jesus, which are 5 different books in it that didn't make the so-called, didn't make the, out of the 66
didn't make
books.
the cut.
Didn't make the cut, right. Out of the 66 ancient writings from our ancestors, by the way, that didn't make the cut in the 66 when when Christianity was established for the salvation of the modern Europeans and not you. They didn't make the cut in that commonly used version from the 1600s, the King James Version. Okay, these books didn't make the cut. So when they mentioned, now I have to say I read them all, but I really liked the book of Thomas. It was so touched my soul because it was parables that were absolutely, they're good. All of it is good because you had said that this is written then for now because principles and truth does not change nor does it pass away. And forecasting, which people say is fortune telling and it's not to go down, they forbid that. But it is the cycles of time that causes certain energies to make certain effects. Whether you want to accept it or not is irrelevant. We know this when we even look at the moon, that every 28 days does its thing and rises the tides of the oceans on this earth. So to have someone tell you not to, invest in these things, you have to know they're covering something up because that's nature's law. So I want to say that when I was watching the movie, Stigmata, at the very end of it, they mentioned this book of Thomas, and I grabbed it off my shelf, and I started reading it, and I didn't put it down until I was finished, and, really, I did it. And so that is that. Now, when you mentioned about coming back, karma, reincarnation, and all that, we need to just simply understand and understand that it simply means that whatever contributions you make, you will receive retribution for them. But if you don't contribute, you can't retribute jack. And if you did contribute and it was on a negative end, you're going to retribute that as well. And you will continue to learn these lessons until you get them. And that is why on the 5 principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, justice is always done. Always. The justice is the foundation underlying. You will receive justice for whatever you have done, be it good or bad. And you will learn the lessons and don't blame other people for those lessons. And some people, you and I, I'll be honest, and he and I were talking. Well, before I say that, let me just say this. There's something else I want to read that's very brief, and I was inspired by it because I know that I am a microcosm of the macrocosm. I know it. And I know that some of us we all are vessels for communication and energy and thought, which are thoughts that come through and ideas, etc., like that. And we also know that the society in which we have been suppressed to be in has caused what is called a mental slavery, no diggity, no doubt, for us. And so rising out of that, they say rising out of the ashes, is where we are. Some people have no trust or faith in the absolute that's going to happen. They're like, I don't really know what's going to happen. But you know what's going to happen because you are the ones who are making it happen. We collectively make it happen. Even Prophet Moor in his prophetic statement said, if you do not honor your own mother and father, the great God of the universe, great God Allah of the universe will not be pleased, and there will be floods and earthquakes and all kinds of things. Now, I've been watching these floods and earthquakes, and I see them happening. And I see most of them first start in these areas where people have taken total advantage of nature and of other people in that they're enslaving them mentally. And so the first thing that happens is their houses that they have on the shore gets wiped away. The houses that they have, built up in mountains where they were already warned, don't do that. Mother Nature's coming back. The Aboriginal indigenous people, which are us, our ancestors, said don't build there. Why? Because in about 20, 30 years, the shoreline's going to change. Mother Nature is going to come and claim this little part back. You need to enjoy this beach. You need to enjoy being able to go put your feet in the water on these shorelines and clean your feet and make your invocations. And you need to not stop other people from doing the same. But no, you want to take grasp of it, own it, build your houses and stuff, build them on stilts, even on stilts. When the Mother Nature decides to make her statements, nothing can stop them. Now, there's this, I think they're controlling the weather. I mean, hell, you can control the weather in your house if you know how to make certain things happen. You know what I mean? You can have a human. You can have. I mean, it's like no big deal. We need to really stop sweating the small stuff because nothing is greater than the Mother Nature's force. So therefore, if we actually believe that, she's coming back with even greater force. And some of us is going to get clipped for being in the wrong state of mind.
That's right.
And,
that's right.
Tell the truth. The prophet said, look, if you don't believe in what I'm telling you, you don't want to know, no problem. I will leave you in the state in which I found you. They didn't mean corporate state. They meant state of mind.
That's right.
Tell the truth. So one day, there was a few things, but I don't want to go. I just want to say this to preface what we're getting ready to share with you. One is this. You had mentioned about coming back, reincarnation. People take the fact that it is all about cause and effect. And if you think you're going to do something here and today or in this lifetime and that your behind ain't going to pay for it tomorrow or in tomorrow's lifetime, you're out of order because you're coming back to fix it.
Yeah.
You are, and certain people are going to recognize you when they see you. You know what I mean? You are definitely coming back because that's the way it rolls. So one day, when I first started getting into this information, a series of words was sent to me, and I titled it, I Imagine. So what you were talking about coming back, about, fixing stuff, about really, as it says in the Mysteries of the Secret Brotherhood of the East, chapter 4, I believe it is, or 5, everything is on its own, is lining up to see where are we at this point. All right? Where is humanity? Where's the people? What cloth are they wearing that needs to be removed and a new one sewn? Where are we? It's right there, right? So I wrote this. It was given to me through the energies, and I entitled it, I Imagine. And it says, I imagine that we, and hold on, and I'm saying this, not saying it about myself, yourself, but about anybody who gets this, because it's all about energy, all right? So it's all about the force, the energy and the force. May the force be with you. What force? Which one are you picking your apples off of? Which, where are you?
Right.
What's energy? Right. So it says, I imagine we are like a force that has not yet come, that the doom of the world, although it appears to be pending, has not yet come. And we are like knights that are riding horses coming from the future to bring correction to the present before it becomes the past. It is as if we are freeing souls to rise up, rise now, with healing for humanity. And with all that could be done, this deed is but the best deed, as life is eternal. It is a matter of living in eternal hell or eternal heaven. Some of us bring angels of light, angels, because that's what angels of light are, angels. They call them angels, but it's angels of light, who are returning to salvage the souls of men. Are you an angel, cloaked as a knight, riding a white horse, carrying a sword, balanced with the scales of justice to salvage the souls of humanity? Question mark. Done. And that's to you. That's for you. And let me tell the people why. Because you and I sometimes, and the people listening, we get into these discussions and we're like, oh, my God, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I can't believe what's that. Am I right, Annie? Let's tell it. Let's just tell it. And I can't believe what's happening. And then you know you can believe it because it's true, but it's an illusion. Anyway, all of it is, and it's just a matter of where one puts their mind and what they put their mind to. And I remember saying to you, like, well, why is this happening to this person or that person or that person? And you told me, you said everybody knows what their own lessons are. When something happens that appears to be bad, this is a lesson for them, and they know. They may not tell you, but they know exactly why. You know?
Yeah.
You're right. So I said that to say that when we read to lead us into this book of John, those are ancient writings from your ancestors. Now, we understand that you may have been bitten, by some belief system that that takes you to a religious place that is not real religion. It's pseudo-religion. And because of that, you can't listen to anything else, and you're really lost in the sauce. And that's why in the Mysteries of the Brotherhood of the East, which we discussed briefly on Tuesday, but let me just bring it back to light because we pondered on that meaning of why when someone saw a demon in the wild, that means you're walking down the path or the street or whatever, and you see a demon in the woods. Really, it's your lower self, because everything is being exposed. This age of Aquarius, you cannot hide. You can't. You may try to hide, but you will end up losing your mind, and people will think you're absolutely crazy. In that terminology that they use, because others see you more plainly when you don't see yourself. So everything is being exposed. So you're walking down the street, you see a demon. You don't realize that's your lower self. But no problem, because you've been taught that the devil is some being. So you're going to take the light that you have. Now, hold on now. The light that you have, and you're going to shine it on that devil, on that demon in the wild. And your lights are going to blow up. They're going to break. Why? Because that ain't the real light. That's why. It's not the real light. So we've been spending our times in institutions of religion that we call religion. We've been spending our time sending our babies to schools that ain't teaching them, not knowing that we are the first schoolroom sisters. That's why it's so important that we get this information. And we ain't got to worry about how crazy the sons are acting or how whatever deficiencies any of our children appear to have, because we will make sure that they get what they're supposed to have before they come out of the first schoolroom, which is your womb. Yes, no one may have told you that, but it is really the truth. That's why they were doctoring with Mary. Remember, I may not have this part right, but they said that Gabriel came and doctored with Mary and Elizabeth when she was pregnant. All right?
Mm-hmm.
You remember that? Mm-hmm. And Luke? Well, that's chapter 2 in the Self of Her Quran, but it's also in the Bibliothelia text, if I'm not mistaken. Right. He visited. So, so yes, it is. It is you, sisters, that is this first schoolroom. So don't complain about this other stuff. You have the obligation and the responsibility, and that's what we're trying to get across. And this is for the young and yet on board. And the nation is in your womb. The nation comes with you in your womb. So this is why we have such problems with people, especially our sons. And we're not putting them down. We're saying no man can start a nation. It's a disgrace. to even let it roll out of his lips, to let it roll over his lips, from his tongue and his cheeks out to over his lips, is an indication, a true indication, that he don't know what's up. But it is the woman's responsibility who made him to make sure that he graduated from your womb proper, and then guide him and her, your daughter and your son, in the right direction. So I'm not just talking about the son, but I'm saying it is a travesty for any son. Any son. So when you go somewhere and they say, well, we're going to start a nation, it is a travesty to hear a child say that when the nation is sitting in the mother's womb when she got here. And it is the first school room. So we know that when we say this is for, when it has been said that this is for the young and young unborn, we understand what that means. The unborn that you bring. Because, so we ain't even going to get into, well, I helped and all that. No, we're getting into mothers. The womb is the first schoolroom. That's what we want you to get. It is the first schoolroom. It is. So it doesn't matter about anything else. Schoolroom, and you got to make sure the children come out with those degrees. How do they come out with those degrees? You got to have them first. So when will this happen? Oh, it will happen. Oh, it's going to happen. And Eve and I were talking this morning about, and he's like, I don't know if I'm going to see it in my lifetime, but we got to do the work to make it happen. Why? Here's why. And then then we can get into some more things, and you may want to add something to this. Here's why. Because we are not really teachers. No, excuse me. We're not leaders. We may be teachers, maybe, because a student becomes a teacher. And the first person that you must teach is self. And all that is involved in self, which is your children. Because the mother ministers. She's the true minister to the children. And actually, you can explain that later. That's a religious term. But here it is. Secret Teachings of the Brotherhood of the East, chapter 4. And it's going to do 5 stanzas on this. 1, 2, 3, yeah. The rabbi said to Barakia, your words are seasoned with the salt of wisdom. That is from above. Who is the teacher who has opened up this truth to you? Question mark. And so Yeshua said, and everybody on this line knows Yeshua is who they call Jesus, and Jesus is the code word for justice. So when you pray into Jesus, you will get justice, because I explained it to you earlier. No matter what you do, justice is coming to you, me, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So Yeshua said, I do not know any teacher that has opened up this truth for me. It seems to me that truth was never shut up, that it was always opened up. For truth is one, and it is everywhere. And if we open up the windows of our own minds, the truth will enter in, and it'll make herself at home. For truth can find her way through any crevice, any window, and any open door. So then the rabbi said, oh, well, what hand is strong enough to open up the windows and the doors of our minds so that truth can enter in? But that's how shut we are. We're in such a mental slavery, so bad that we can't even figure out how to open up our own minds. But the exorcism must come first and get rid of the other stuff, and then, So the last thing, an answer, and this brings us to the first principle, which is love. Yeshua said, it seems to me that love, the golden cord that binds the 10 Commandments in one, is strong enough to open any human door so that truth can enter in and cause the heart to understand. Why the heart? Because the heart sees and hears before you do. You can close your eyes and your heart still. You call it intuition, you call it, whatever you want to call it. Some people actually have visions or whatever like that. So I wanted to preface that before we got into the secret teachings of John, because it really is as above, so below, and it really is the responsibility of the women, for she is the one who established and created all of this. It is her responsibility, which is why on the 101, she is knocked out unconscious, and her son of course, would be holding her up. Unfortunately, because she's been knocked out for so long, not teaching from the womb, her sons have and her daughters have been taught another not even an ideology, some other stuff that has shut their minds down, has put them in a mental slavery. So now you got someone holding you up that now wants to take the sword and cut your head off. There's something seriously wrong with that. So we have to wake up. And it doesn't matter whether you think it's going to solve the problem you have right at this instant. It's going to solve what needs to be done for your soul. Your soul has to be salvaged, period. Period. You may think that you're just living in this time and you're going to get yours and bling, bling, but that's not true because you know many people around you, if not you, have lost all that stuff that you thought you gained and made you distinctly special, different, or successful or whatever like that. So that's not it. It's about your soul. Because in these days and times, you have to meet a person's soul. You have to, because this is what is released upon. This is what is pulled in the womb. You call them monads, and then you build the temple. Solomon, or the grand architect, which is she, builds soul of man's temple in that womb, in the darkness and the silence. That's what happens. So what are you pulling in is based from the beginning of my dissertation here, I guess, I was saying it's up to the energies that you are around, be they seen or unseen, because energy is a force anyway, but people emanate their energy. So, and it comes from inside to the outside. So unseen creates the seen, absolutely. So regardless to whether it's the seen that you see or the unseen that you don't see, those, it's dependent upon what is around you, what you will pull. Islam, I thought you might want to have some comment on that before we get into the information. Something to think about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's like, wow. But you know, you talk about the books and the parables, it's all about the unseen. It's the unseen that creates the seen.
Yes, it is.
For us, I would say the unseen is to see the thought. What are you thinking in your head? That's love for you right now as you sit wherever you sit. That's the above.
Yep. It is. You know, when we get so caught up in the manifestations that we create, this is our problem. This has been our problem from the very beginning, because we manifest things with our mind, and we totally detach from the fact that we manifested this. But we get so in awe of what we manifested with our minds that we get caught up and forget who we are. This is the lesson. That's it. This is the lesson. I don't care where you are. I don't care what you think you got. I don't care who you think you are. The lesson is all this stuff you see with these physical eyes looking out, you created it all in your mind. So let's not get all, enamored of it. Let's not get, boastful of it, because you created it. Let's not run from it. Let's not cry over it, because you created it. You created this body so that you can come here and have these lessons. I don't care what's going on with the body. You are creating it. It could be a strong body. It could be a weak body about to fall down. You created it. The whole lesson here is to not be a slave of your creations. But we're all enslaved by our creations. We're so enslaved that we can't find our way out of the enslavement that we created. We want to blame everybody else. And many times we want to sit down and have a pity party. Oh, woe is me. I can't understand why it's happening to me. We created it. We become such crybabies over the very things that we have created. We become lazy and complacent because the very same mental energy that we use to create it, instead of us using that same energy to change it, we take that energy and sit down, put our thumb in our mouth, and cry about it. This is where we are. We have become slaves to our creation. We are slaves to our body. We do whatever it tells us to do. We have absolutely no control. If we wanna eat, then food becomes the slave. If today people are so obsessed with sex. This is a creation of the mind. Our minds have become so perverted that sex is a perversion today. We are absolutely enslaved by it. And these modern Europeans know. That's why they know the surefire way to take down a mother or son, send them a mate. You'll get so distracted from your mission if your energy. Now, I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I'm saying that what it has become because of our mental enslavement, because of our because we have become enslaved by the things that we have created. It's not what it used to be. Having a mate, as this writing tells us, was supposed to create within us the ability to help each other. Even though it looks like two people, is really just you. It really is. It's really just because where energy manifested, energy can never be divided. It's always one, even though it may appear to be many, it's still just one. So,
but see, all of that was done to distract us.
Yes.
And
exactly.
the balance. There's no balance in those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
It distracts us from being able to be competent.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's absolutely. You know what? And let me just say this.
And what did that lead to?
Years ago,
yeah.
Let me tell you how my diet changed, because my diet changed. I was a smoker, but not. I say but not because my body so cannot tolerate the smoking that a pack of cigarettes would last me a week. So I was a smoker, but not. Right? Same thing with drinking. Like, I can drink a wine cooler. After the third one, I was walking sideways. Now, I'm not a drinker, all right? So years ago, I started reading these books about the body and health and the mind, and it became so clear to me that I was allowing other people to control me when I had the power to remove that control and control myself. And when I saw to what magnitude people was controlling me through the food, food control is a huge thing, huge. It's like the drug of choice for everybody. Food control, smoking, and drinking, these things, you are being controlled by somebody else, not beneficial to you, but to your detriment, and they're profiting off of that. And when I really thought about that, I was like, nope, Not going to happen. When I made that decision, I quit smoking. Like I said, I wasn't a drinker. I wasn't a smoker or drinker, really, all right? Because my tolerance level is just way too low. I put all that stuff on the back burner. I X'd it out of my life. I removed it because I needed to get focused. I changed my diet drastically because I refuse to allow somebody else to control me, especially somebody that don't have my best interests at heart. And then when you start doing a little bit of the history on our people, our ancestors, one of the ways that they started to take control of us, or they gave us the necessary keys to become befuddled, like we don't have the same type of mentality to make good decisions like our ancestors did because our minds are in a fog. And this is no secret. The food was altered. They show you that in some of these so-called black slave movies, in some of these so-called Indian movies. One of the ways that they were able to take out the Moors historically was they don't even try to hide it. The only thing they change in telling that piece of story is that they paint the Moors as modern Europeans with red complexion and straight hair. But every single cowboy and Indian movie that they show you, the way they was able to overcome the Moors, which they branded Indian, was they got them addicted to liquor. And that's why, and their minds became befuddled. These are the sharp shooters with arrows and guns, precision, physically fit Olympians. These were our Olympians. They was able to befuddle their minds and take them out to the point where the warriors who were bar none protectors of the family was asleep in a stupor when they came to murder the family, murder the whole tribe of people. And today we still allow those mechanisms to befuddle our minds and take out our family. I decided for me that I'm not going to do anything that is going to assist them in taking me out. Mm-hmm. I'm taking back control of me. Mm-hmm. And really, when you look at this, that is what it's all about. Because let me tell you, when I changed my diet, I had to do fasting. Fasting is not an easy thing. The first 24 to 48 hours are rough, very rough, right? To the point where if your determination is not strong for your preservation, you're going to go eat something. Break that fast and miss the wonders of a clear mind. When you change your diet and you do occasional fasting, your mind becomes so crystal clear that you wonder, how in the world did I miss this? Yep. So that's how it is.
Right. Again, as above, so below. So it's in your mind that you would decide on, to control the lower self, which would be in that respect, because everything is relative. And once you understand, it's like peeling back an onion, what the relativity is, then you can, start progressing with it, because it's the mind. It's the lowest. If we say start with the as above, standing where you are, being your thought, right, and that would be
yes.
You would be able to overcome the physical part of yourself in terms of those desires that become habits and or destructive habits.
Yes.
Also. So that's where that works at too. Now, again, we're back to saying as above, so below, right?
Yeah.
So when people read the bibliophilia text that they call the Bible, it is really after what happened above. It's
yes.
after the war.
And you know what? It's so funny you say that because I was just, even before you said that, I was saying everything begins first in the mind. Everything, actually, truth be told, everything begins and ends in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. But now let me just say, this is why understanding your Trinity, if you don't do nothing else, find out the Trinity and understand it, because trust and believe. When you look at that Trinity, you're going to see what you are working with. And you have to be objective, because if you're not objective, it's not going to help you. That information is not going to help you if you are not objective. But when you look at that Trinity, it will tell you exactly about you. And if other people comprehend the astrology and they look at that Trinity, it will tell them exactly about you as well. Now, there's many, what's the word I want to use? There's standards. I'm going to use the word standards. That's not the word I'm looking for, but there's basic standards to every astrological energy. And so when you read them, it's telling you this is what the person is who has not worked on that particular character of that energy sign. This is what it is. For example, like Pisces. Pisces people are very emotional. Always they cry at the drop of a hat. All right? Now, unless they have worked on that, they will be an emotional mess.
But the reason that happens is not just because they're the wateriest of the water sign.
Right.
But it is also because they have an imagination that cannot usually be satisfied by others. Their imagination is so lofty that it's hard to satisfy them. So they get upset.
That would be the basics. That would be the basics of any. And that would be when I say the basics, I mean that is somebody who has not worked on that. If one who has worked on that may have taken that.
Once you know that, because like you said earlier, people really know what their own lessons are. Sometimes they point it out to them. But once you know that, then it helps you to deal with you first. It really does. It makes you know, I understand what these energies are, what this force is, so I can now have better direction.
Channel it into something else.
You're in power. If you don't have direction, you're powerless because it's just a force that just blows, with no direction. So I think that it helps. And I want to say this. Some people, they talk about, well, I want to do Vedic astrology, I want to do Hindu astrology, I want to do whatever. If you don't know the basics, you can't understand none of it. You can't.
They're all the same.
Basics, the elementary of the elements.
Right, and they're all the same. For example, you've got, it's so much. You've got the astrology wheel, you've got the tarot cards, you got the ruin stones, old. You got the you got some people back in the old days. They would use these bones. They would throw the bones and tea leaves, I Ching, feng shui. There's so many different divinations. But let me say this. They all say the same thing because it's all based on universal law. It's just that some people can only receive it in a certain way. And that don't mean, like, for example, when I wanted to comprehend the Biblios Heliotech, reading the King James Version just wasn't working for me initially. I had to start with, like, the International Version until I got to the story of Moses and realized that the International Version was not the story that I recall. So, having comprehended enough, I went and pulled up the King James Version, and there was the story that I recall, and I was able to absorb it in that written form, which brought me to researching the Bible written in Hebrew, because I was like, I want to go back to the source. This is amazing. What else was changed that, is not correct? I want to go back to the source. Went back to the Hebrew. Went looking at the Arabic, and but these things you have to go back by degrees. So all of that means whatever your energy is, if you're not working on it, you're going to have those basic characteristics. But if you start working on yourself, those basic characteristics, you can harness the energy and channel it into a more positive area. For example, if as a Pisces, being an emotional person, one of the ways that I took that energy, I'm a Pisces moon, by the way, but one of the ways that I was able to take that energy and channel it was to, instead of, functioning from an emotional aspect, I went and I took that energy and I channeled it into knowing. I didn't want to be at the mercy of situations and events and people, so I would take that energy that would be emotional, and I would channel it into reading up on anything and everything so that I would know. The knowing more. The one thing that I really wanted to know about was me. People are so caught up in, I want to know how to get a house. I want to know how to take over a land mass. I want to know how to get a car. I want to know how to get Federal Reserve notes misclassified as money. I want to know how to get a mate. I want to know how to get this. I want to know how to go and get groceries without paying. I want to do this and that. I want to do international business. I want to just know about me. And what I learned from just wanting to know about me is that I create everything. So if I can really and truly know me, then me can create anything I want, because things begins and ends in the mind. And the reason that the majority of people don't have the things that they want is because they don't have enough control of their minds, so they don't have the necessary power, focus, energy to manifest what they want. They continually manifest what they don't want, because that's where the focus is. That's where the energy is. And that's why these modern Europeans know how the mind works better than we do. And so they fill our minds with foolishness and distraction, and we participate in it. And so we always create exactly what we don't want, because we fill our minds with what we don't want, and we never fill our minds with what we do want, so we don't manifest what we want. It's that simple. That simple. If you're watching the news every day, you're manifesting whatever that news so-called news is imprinting, planting into your psyche, because that's all you're putting there. You're putting into your psyche exactly what you say you don't want.
Definitely right. So now,
right?
So, yeah. Right. I mean, it's easy to say, but without.
It's something that you can change, but you're gonna need this. To me personally, people say, "Oh, I didn't got the right motivation." Baby, if your life ain't motivation enough, I don't know what else could be.
It's interesting because I'm tracing through the document. The dissertation of Book of John, and again going back to as above, so below. And this is when we talk about the mind and the creation, as you're saying, everything is created in the mind, or what we would call as above, so below. We have to realize that the bibliotheliotech, or the Bible as we call it, really starts after, I'm going to go back to that, after that war in the haven of your mind, of whether you're going to deal with your lower self or your higher self. And then Genesis, which really, I know, may sound like folk etymology, but it's the genes of Isis, which is the mother, and it's genetics. But if you really look at that, Genesis 1 talks about being manifest in the flesh on the sixth day, which is the sixth day is Friday. And Friday, named after Venus or whatever, that's the day that it's a holy day for Muslims. And this is why, okay, because you were formed in the flesh on the sixth day, which is mother, her flesh, and you departed from mother, same day, sixth day. Now, they have all kinds of stories about it, but we've got to look at as above, so below. We're talking about the Bible that you call the Bible really only starts with Genesis, and it starts with, when it goes to Genesis 1, it's really talking about, those who were manifested from the spirit to the flesh. But the rest is mostly about Genesis 2. And I remember Ms. brought that out to me. We did a little build on that. And that's about Adam and his descendants. And I know that may, bother some people, but, you just got to get real with it. That's about Adam and Eve, or Adam and the evolution of Adam, which is about the grafting. It's about the made from my hand type thing, what we call modern Europeans today, and then ended up coming out of the caves and all of that. So they're really, that most of the Genesis that you're reading isn't even about you. It's about what you created, quite frankly. So that would be Genesis 2. But back to what you're saying about the thoughts. Now check this out. When you have grief, this is how you recognize higher self, lower self stuff. When you have grief, you're dealing with, it comes from envy, from jealousy, from distress, from trouble, from pain, from callousness, from anxiety, and from mourning. Now I'm kind of relating this to when you look at the 101s and you read what it says the higher self and the lower self is. They really talk about these attributes, quite frankly, because as you were saying earlier, if you're wallowing in grief and envy and jealousy and distress, trouble, pain, callousness, anxiety, etc., then you're vibrating on the lower self level. Now, what comes from desire? What this desire brings? Desire brings. Now this is interesting now, because you desire stuff, and it comes from anger, wrath, bitterness, and bitter passion, and unsatedness, and things that are similar to that. When you have fear, dread, fawning, agony, and shame. Now, where's the part I wanted to put here? Agony and shame, right? Now, women, when we recognized what we had done, right, and that we had, we began, I'm going to read it right out of here. Here it is. When we repented, kind of in our thoughts, That's what it means. Not repented, going to your church, you know, whatever, doing 7 Hail Marys. I ain't talking about that. We were overcome by forgetfulness in the darkness of ignorance, and we began to be ashamed. Now, this is where on 101 she's unconscious. You know how you run away from stuff? We became ashamed. And the reason we became ashamed is because of what we had done by establishing, building without the proper energies, which includes the male, because there is no she, it's mother, father. Really, it's the energy. It's about the energy. It's not about the feminine, okay? Because father's process of creation or process. So now, when we failed, sisters, ain't got nothing to do with the sons. Don't be looking at them like that, because when we fail to build, create, whatever, with the right mixture, let's say, of energies, and with the respect of energies, we created something that was kind of messed up. And what we created, we began to become aware of our own deficiency. And what happened, what we created actually began calling themselves God. And they didn't even recognize their mother or where they had even come from. So they began with that light. They began calling themselves God. And this is what we became ashamed of. You need to understand that. Because whatever comes out of you, you established it. You created. That's why the womb is the first womb. It's the first schoolroom. And so the unfortunate part, and I was telling Annie this earlier, I'm like, look, I don't care how tired and, weary we may get sometimes of certain things that are said or done or misunderstood or whatever. We can't go back home, if you will, to that place that we want to be until we fix what's lacking. It is our responsibility. It's in the scriptures. It is our responsibility to do so. So we get a little upset when we hear people say that we're putting down, the guys. We're not doing it. None of that has anything to do with what we're talking. We're talking real biology and real talk. And that's not what we're doing. And it's misunderstood. Because if we don't get this, we can't move forward and fix what's wrong, because what's wrong is really what's wrong with us. What's wrong with your children, be they sons or daughters, is really and truthfully an indication of what is wrong with you, the mother. And it seems like it's a big responsibility, but it is. It's an obligation and a responsibility. And what are we doing? Walking around in shame because we know it, but we just don't want to be conscious of it and take the responsibility. That's the way I see it. So we have been placed in the ninth, sort of like a ninth heaven, until we correct just above our children, our sons, definitely our sons, until we correct what is wrong, because they're running around talking about their God. They're running around with the light and disregarding where it even came from, and don't know that it came from even a greater place than her, from the all. And this is a problem for us. We're not going to wake up today. We're going to continue to feel ashamed about it. So what happened is, after all of this occurred, it said, oh, well, here it is. The man exists and the son of man. And we keep telling people, all right, man and son of man. Well, man is mind. We know mind exists, and everything comes from what we establish in our thought. So I just want to say that we are feeling shame. Now, guess how bad this shame has come? We have, like you said earlier, Annie, this misunderstanding of the sexual energy, which is one of the most powerful energies of creating there is, done correctly, and without abuse and misuse or whatever. But we have traveled so far in the lower self that we now have the sisters coming up in the household, and even their own family members, because they're so the scales have tipped so far on the wrong side of what the sexual desires bring. Well, I already told you what desires bring. So you got to understand you have everything you need. And if you don't know that, well, You shouldn't be desiring anything like that because I told you desire brings anger because you have disappointment. Why? Because you have expectations, and you aren't supposed to be have expectations. You know, I am I and you are you. I'm not in this world to live up to your expectations. You are not in this world to live up to mine. But if we meet, we find each other, hey, on a good place, then that's great. So, we may think that having desires is good, but it is not because you came in with everything you really need. So what is it that you desire? So the desire brings the anger, the wrath, the bitterness, the bitter passion, and the unstatedness. And fear brings dread, fawning, agony, and shame, right? Okay, so we got that. So now we are in shame, and what our children are doing is shameful. I mean, let's just get real. Are we going to blame that on someone else when it could be at the hands of others guiding us that way, perpetuating it because it's so easy to do, because there's no stability in shame. It's, freeing the shame that binds you type thing. So we're in the shackles, but they're mental. We haven't, dealt with the passions and balancing out. So it is so bad that everything that our children are doing today is shameful. I'm not saying every child is shameful. Please don't. But you understand what I'm saying. What we see and what has been allowed to be reported or viewed on the televisions and the programs, these people are serious. They're not really actors. Some of these so-called live TV shows is an atrocity because these people really live like that, and they really and they really think that's cool. But I just want us to just think about this. We're in shame and have been for a while because we're not taking up our obligations, our duties. And our children's behavior reflects that. It's shameful. So when are we going to start taking responsibility? Because we're not going to be able to rest. You're coming back. That you're not going to be able to go back, if I can use that terminology, and be in that place that we're going to use home until you fix what's lacking. So, all of the universe said, okay, what happened? What happened? Oh, man, you can't come back. You better fix that. The ninth heaven. And the ninth heaven, there's some people who like to disregard it. And I understand where they're coming from to a degree that they're looking at the seven, circle seven, and in its perfectness, yeah, you can deal with the seven. But the ninth heaven is the science of we call it the science of the number 9. It's the womb. If you draw a 9 and then you draw it upside down, you have the spiral, But so we're there until we fix what's lacking. End of story. It's already been prophesied. It's biblical. It's whatever you want to call it, but it's what it's going to be. And if you think and you didn't get it, and you think you're going to go and not get it and leave here, you're coming back because it is the duty of women to fix what is lacking because she's the one who actually, let me read the sentence, everything comes from her. I don't care what it is and who put this space, it comes from her. So we, like I said, when we became aware of this deficiency of what we had done, yeah, we became dark. We did. And forgetful. And then we, have our children and we're supposed to be ministering to them so that they can remember. So that they're not, repeat the same cycle. But how can you fix it if we're still running around shameful and won't take the obligation to creation? And we're the ones who's the first power. And it says it in here that I thought I highlighted it, but everything comes forth through the image of God or Allah, the image of the all, Mother, Father, has to include the womb. And the breast, and it does. That's the image of man in the flesh, manifested. And then you have the Son of Man. It's really not a complicated thing. But nobody wants to accept that. Oh, no, I'm not the man, I mean, and all that craziness when it's already there. It's a great thing. So now we're dealing with trying to put things back on the level. The woman's responsibility. You can't continue to remain asleep. You can't do all this stuff and then act like you don't know what's going on, because that's what's happening. And defer yourself to anyone, whether it be your son or whether it be these modern Europeans, because everyone is taking advantage of the fact that we are not in our place, and they're just taking absolute advantage of it. And these modern Europeans, they don't want you to be in a place because they want to be the prodigal child. That's what they want. They want it to be them. When it's all one. But we got to get to that place, and we have to take that responsibility. So, because it says, I can't find the spot, but if you read it, you'll see it. All things come through her that manifest here. And I remember one time we said, look, if you don't have a navel, where you were cut from your mother's navel and became a navigating L, and the navel is navigating L, then you're something else. You're some other being. I've got to find out what happened, but a girl was there and said she didn't have a navel. I mean, I didn't see it, so I can't say, but I needed to find out what that was all about, but I've never seen anyone. And if you do see one, you know that they didn't come from mother. That's called, what do they call that? Not robot. It's more than that. You know, it's like, in other words, everything is repeating itself. So they're going to be making these beings, and they are like robots. And you don't know who's what next to you. But it's really nothing new under the sun, because we're the first to make the creation here. So if we have knowledge of that, none of this would be scary. So I'm just saying that we have to take the responsibility, because it's all about what your mama taught you. Everybody knows that. I don't care whether you're a guy, girl, don't matter. Now, what they want to do is take you, your child, since you're still shameful and you still sleep, we're going to take your job. This is what they're thinking. And we'll raise them with what we want them to know. And we'll break them. We'll break them, if that's what we have to do, into the mindsets of what do you call it, Annie? You call it conditioning. You're saying they want to condition our next, what they consider as our next crop. But it's really the next generation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they look at us as. And they tell you that. And what's crazy is that they told us this in the Matrix. In the movie The Matrix, they said whole crops were lost.
Said
whole
what?
crops. That's what they, in the Matrix, in the movie The Matrix, they tell you exactly what they think of us. Because, see, for us, that movie The Matrix was like an awakening. It ought to have been an awakening, because in that movie, they tell you exactly how they see us. They see us as revenue generators, and our only function is to generate revenue for them. And we do. We do this because we don't want to give up these mental conditionings that they have imposed on us. You know, we run around here and we say things like, well, you know, it's mental conditioning. You know, people repeat. There's those, you know, there are people, they just repeat what the prophet wrote as just, you know, like a parrot. But it has no meaning in their life. The prophet didn't bring these things for us to repeat like a parrot. He brought them for us to read and reflect on and make corrections. He said, look, I came to bring you from out of your mental slavery. People will say that, but then make zero change. Continue to be a slave to the very things that the prophet came to bring us out of. So, and it's gotten so bad that the modern Europeans are in our face in movies and cartoons, children cartoons, telling us, yeah, y'all ain't worth nothing but to, generate revenue. Hell, they tell you that in the King Alfred plan. Well, if y'all don't want to wake up and take your place, well, then we can use you to generate revenue. They say that in the King Alfred plan. How many people have read the King Alfred plan? Some of them have even repeated it and participate wholeheartedly in assisting them in using them to generate revenue, assist them in breaking themselves down by not getting rid. Look, we all have control of ourselves. We really do. Even though we have been mentally conditioned, we have control of ourselves. We have the ability to make a decision to change a habit today. We have that ability. If you're doing something that is not benefiting you or your family, remember, you are a holy temple. You are a divine being. All right? So now, if you are not doing something that is going to maintain that holy temple, and you are instead doing something that is destroying that holy temple, you're helping the modern Europeans break you down. And in breaking you down, you break down the whole nation.
Mm-hmm.
We sit here talking about, we need to have a way to control our economy. You can't even not go to the store and participate in these things that they put out there to control you, but you want to talk about economy?
Not knowing what the economic resources really are you.
Right, exactly.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Economic resources, and you are participating in modern foreigners continuing to have an economic resource through you. And I'm not trying to knock anybody, but honey, look, people, and then look, people want to talk about, well, I ain't paying taxes. Well, what are you buying that you don't want to pay taxes on? What are you buying that you don't want to pay taxes on? They tax alcohol, they tax cigarettes, they tax, anything that is prepared. They tax these things. Look, most of the things that they tax, we don't even need, really.
Right. Not knowing what is taxed and what did not be taxed. Right. But at the same time,
you want to have an argument about paying tax, but what are you paying taxes for?
But at the same time, when you're talking sales tax, it's a sales tax. It's not a buyer's tax anyway. But some of the But some of the things that they have put into a commercial perspective, like, for instance, alcohol. A lot of the things, see, we get caught up. Cocoa leaf, right? That's where they derive or make cocaine from. But the cocoa leaf in itself is a natural product. It's not something that can be
very medicinal.
Right, and just like marijuana, it's a natural product. It's not something that
very
can
medicinal.
be. It's all medicinal, right? So you got to know the right words and things to say. Just like even with quote unquote gun charges, you got to know the difference between firearms and guns, and it's all in the wording. So when you're talking about goods, it's a sales tax, not a buyer's tax. That's number one.
Yep.
But now, if you're carrying cargo of goods, then that's a commercial activity of exchange. That's totally something different. But if you don't know that a sales tax means for the person who is distributing that, they're selling it. It's a sales tax. They have to pay the taxes, not you. On it. But you're talking, you're saying, what are you all concerned about paying taxes on some liquor? Well, first of all, what they used to call a moonshine, right, what, that's what commerce does. It's an intervener into natural products and resources, packaging them in a certain and extracting the nature from it, because they think they're God, and trying to establish the same ingredient that comes in nature when you can get it out of nature. You understand what I'm saying? So they can't.
Yeah.
Right. They can't tax that.
That's right.
It's the same with brown. That's a natural product for us.
And the other thing is, like we really have got to go back to being industrious Moors, because really I know, but look, people, beer is a huge business, right? Beer is made from various grains.
Right.
We as a people have the ability to make our own beer. And you can input into it all types of little things to make the taste different. Instead of we buying from these multi-billion-dollar corporations, we should be producing our own and, consuming it amongst ourselves. Instead of putting our energy into a foreigner's pocket, and they want to sit back and talk about paying taxes. That was our history. You go back to Egypt, we created beer that was like on par with no beer that they create today, and it was a lot more healthy, and it was not rushed. I mean, there's so many things that we can do to empower ourselves, and yet we want to sit here and talk about economic development. But we're participating in the foreigners' economic development on a daily basis and behave as though we have zero willpower to remove ourselves from that. And this is the mental conditioning that the prophet talks about bringing us out from under. We have so much that we can do. He said there's work for us all. There's work enough for everyone, and he's so right. There's no reason that anywhere, should have idle hands. Because here's the thing, and even if you say, well, I don't want to do that, well, find within yourself something that you can do by yourself. This is what it's about. Everybody's so caught up in wanting to be some kind of a martyr. Oh, I come to save humanity. No, you ain't here to save no damn humanity. You are here to save yourself.
Well,
you can't even do that, and you're talking about saving humanity.
Well, we are uplifting humanity, but you save yourself, and that is saving humanity.
Exactly. The uplifting of humanity begins, it is an individual thing. Why? Because you cannot somebody else's mind. You don't have access to it. But what you can do is you can uplift your own mind. Hell, every last one of us got issues within ourselves that we need to deal with. We are a beautiful temple, and many of us got things we need to get rid of and clean up. That's what we need to be working on. That instead of going out and harassing the people on the street. The prophet did say, I came to take you out of your mental enslavement. Part of that type of activity speaks to mental enslavement, because in the summertime, in the so-called black neighborhoods, they got big revival tents out, and they got people passing out flyers trying to get you to come into their revival and be safe, harassing the people as they're walking on the street, trying to indoctrinate them into their mentality. That's not how it works. It works by you looking at you and you fixing you And this is what this takes us right back to the beginning of this whole conversation. It is for the sisters to reflect on themselves and recognize that, honey, you are debasing yourself. You haven't even begun to step into your true purpose. You think that you're here to be at somebody's beck and call, somebody's doormat, somebody's floor mat. You think that you're here to just pop out babies so that modern Europeans can use them as revenue generators? I mean, come on. You think that you're here to take a back seat and let somebody else handle your affairs? That's not what it's about. It is about the sisters waking up. It is about mother waking up and coming and making everything right for her children. And that's what the secret teachings of John is all about. Girl, look at the mess you done created. You better get over here and clean it up, and you ain't going to find rest until you do. And look at this. We got the rest all over the place, and we ain't even begun to wake up and do the work.
I had my mic muted, but I was saying when you said, and you're not going to find rest, and when you said until you do, I said it at the same time, until you do. That's what it's about.
Exactly. We're here, and a week don't go by that I don't feel so overwhelmed and tired, and I want rest. I want it badly. And Roz came, and we started talking, and she got into the secret teachings of John, and I realized why I'm so tired and why I ain't going to find no rest.
Right,
and that's
exactly.
why I'm not going to find no rest. So this is the way it's going to be until I pass form. This is it.
And you're not complaining about that. You just
Oh,
saying.
no, I'm not. I'm just, okay, this is why. Oh, I get it now. I can stop trying to find rest because it ain't going to be found.
Exactly. Now, let's take this to our thoughts regarding the change that will automatically come about once the sisters do this, and that reflection will also be reflected with the contractors, municipal corporations, and in their meeting rooms that they call courts, because some people don't see how that's going to happen when they don't understand the force of the mother, all right, and the energy that is there and how it will change everything, even to the courtrooms, and the proper manner in which to handle that, and that how it needs to be done on a collective, Mom, and mothers and sons.
Yeah.
It has to be done. We have to be in the same direction, and that's where the problem is.
That's right.
A lot of times. We're not. We got our group over here, and we're going to do it like this, and then you got another group over here that's selling the family out some of them without even knowing it. Then you got the group of people who think that they should delve themselves into the commerce just because that's what the relationship is with these modern Europeans, with us allowing them to be here in the first place so that they could do what they have to do to support themselves and their family, and we jump ourselves into that without realizing that they are on our ancestral estate. And so you got another group from over here that do all kinds of stuff without acknowledging the universe, mean one word,
yep.
And word means, jurisdiction means right word, truth that is for all of us no matter what. How, with us getting that straight, which is bigger than what we obviously think it is in our little circle of life or whatever, because so many people are waiting for someone else to do it. I'm going to do it and it'll be okay. No. We all have to come right. And how, once that occurs, that it will destroy and put out of operation these corporations, period.
Yep.
And they will not be able to afford to hire.
You know what? It's so much deeper than that. Because we are so fixated, like I said, we are so caught up in our own creation, right? The whole answer to everything we're going through is right in the first chapter of the Holy Quran, divinely prepared by Prophet Noble Ali, and I believe it's like the first sentence. It says man is mind. All right. If we really comprehended that, if we really took that home to our heart and harmonized it with our mind, we would get that if man is mind, then man with the mind that man has, creates everything, and this is the seed. The seed of thought manifests and creates and becomes in the scene. And everything that we are physically seeing, we first manifested it with our mind. We started participating in the continued manifestation of what we see today. And so when people say, I need to get something in order to have some type of a life, what you're saying is you're still under mental enslavement, baby, because you created that with your mind. And if you want something else, you can create that with your mind. But what are you focusing on? What are you focusing on really? The vast majority of people are focused on what they don't want, so they never manifest what they do want. And because they don't take the time and energy to focus on what they do want, they stay trapped in what they don't want. And that's all they talk about, which continues the manifestation of what they don't want.
Mhm.
It's simple. Everything begins in the mind. It's all in chapter 1. Begins in the mind. Well, if you really believe that, if you really know that, well, actually people is functioning on belief, because if they knew it, they would be using it. They would be manifesting. You wouldn't be hearing these people talking about, I don't want to be bothered with anybody. I want to see the police today. Well, if you really didn't want to see the police today, then you wouldn't be filling your mind with everything that speaks. So that's entity entering into your space. What are you focusing on? Why is it manifesting in your world? How is it being created? Because everything is mind. Everything that happens is created in the mind. There's no other place for it to be created. So if it pops up in your world, you created it, because nobody else has control of your mind per se. Your mind is being controlled, yes. It's your mind, but you don't want to take responsibility of it. So everybody else takes responsibility of your mind through the TV, through the so-called music, the media, the people you hang around with, the conversations you have with yourself. We create exactly what we have, because that is the mental enslavement that the prophet talks about. And guess what? That's also the mental enslavement that's in the King Alfred plan. It's silent. You can't see it. Not visible, but it's in operation.
Mhm. Right. That's what it is. They're feeding off. I mean, because it's true. If it's all in your mind, it's all in the air, etc., like that. But it's what you manifest as your reality, because you think about it, and so they control what you think, and they try to control because we don't. Excuse me, and they play on that. You know what I mean? Because if you think
it, right.
Oh my God, it manifests in some shape, form, or fashion. You know what I mean? And so collectively, we're so out of order. Like I had someone come to the class with me to tell me, well, they're getting ready to call all the Moors terrorists. I said, they been did that. We wrote about that a long time ago, but they can't do that just because were Islamic. I said, yeah, they can do that, but none of that is working. Like, people don't understand that this shit is over for them.
Well, first of all, what they don't, if they're saying that, what they're demonstrating is that they didn't even go read the FBI files, because back when the Prophet was alive, the FBI did a whole big investigation on the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Moorish Holy Temple, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Moorish Divine and National Movement of the World, and the conclusion is they're not terrorists.
Right. Right. So
nor are we communists, whatever that is. Because back in the day, the terrorist was called communist. Today, the word communist is terrorist.
Right. Exactly. Because they always got an enemy. You know that, right? But we've been the enemy for a long time, those who are Islamic, because the only thing that it has been is that, Muslims and Christians. That's it. So now that's interesting, because I think we need to touch on this too. I don't know if you open up the lines or not, but I think we need to touch on this, because look at what we're telling you, them controlling the mind, and we really want to do this class and bring it home to the people. The president of the United States of America is not your president.
Mm-hmm.
They can enforce the law that exists, but again, because we're so ignorant and down in the trenches and shameful and all that, because we are, they said, "Oh, this is the law," and we believed it. So now, if you don't believe us, look at the bull crap that's on the TV now. They are desensitizing people to the fact that this guy Trump, and I want to say this, so many of our people, even though they call themselves Negro, colored, black, or whatever, really thought Trump was the do-all, the be-all, the bomb diggity sticks dog. I mean, yeah, man, because he had supposedly had money, which he never had, and he still doesn't. So they revere him. So this is a perfect timing in their conditioning to bring him up, and you're supposed to revere him. He's an ignorant man. He's showing you exactly what a whole bunch of modern Europeans think. Now, you can pick through and say, well, oh, there's some good stuff about him. Oh, there's some bad stuff. Man, that man is ridiculous. It is. You got to look at it. I'm not talking about him personally. I don't know him personally. I can only go by what I see. It has come to this point. Now, look what they're doing to him now. They're doing what we call the Bill Cosby on him. It is so far. When we were coming back from the class last week on a Wednesday evening, late night, we listened to just the news, because the BBC news and stuff like that. Yeah, we don't listen, right, so-called news, but we were listening to another stream, the British stream, and they if you can get that, BBC I think it's called, they give you more real facts than what happens here. But anyway, we're listening and we're writing, and within, they said 2 women have come up about sexual misappropriation, inappropriate behavior from Donald Trump on 2 women. Within 15 minutes, not even less than 15 minutes, the count was 3 women. Now, the other day, I think yesterday, it's 9 women. We are so desensitized that we don't, because they do that all the time. They did it to Bill. They do it to whoever. It don't even matter to the people anymore about that. That's how shameful we have fallen, that it doesn't even matter. However, more importantly, whoever is the president is not your president anyway, if you understood the Constitution. The only duty he has is to enforce law, not to, like he's in there talking about he's going to make law, he's going to build walls. That's why I put the handwritten letter that the modern Europeans wrote to the Mexicans at that time. They called it the Mexican Republics, who were on this land, and requesting a treaty. They was asking anybody and everybody trying to get out of their conundrum. No, not their conundrum, their slavery, excuse me. So, I put it up there because now this guy talking about he's going to put up a border to keep Mexicans out. These people are talking about your ancestral estate, and you're going to tell me that we're still bickering over whether or not, I don't know. What is the stupidest thing we bicker over? I don't even know. But we're not coming together as a one family, as a parent, and we don't realize that we think they have this power over this land of ours when they don't. They're occupying it, and we're just asleep. So whether he had 9 women or whether he did or didn't do it, all of that stuff is what's becoming normal stuff for us. And we're becoming desensitized. And if we're adults becoming desensitized, what do you think the children are becoming? With that. Because if this isn't the age of information to let you know what's really going on, I don't know what is. I mean, look at this stuff. It's crazy. It's an act. It's Hollywood for real, acting. They're not telling you the truth about things. And that's my opinion about it. That we don't need to be like voting for them. We shouldn't be voting. Yeah, go ahead.
People are so, like you said, they're mentally conditioned and they're so desensitized. How did we get desensitized? Because I'll tell you how. The desensitization came through the TV and the television. I mean, the TV and the radio, so-called music. It's mental programming. But most people, like King Alfred said, right? It's so silent. You don't see it. You don't see it because you don't realize that listening to something over and over and over again is going to desensitize you. It's going to get to the point where, oh, well, this is okay. This is all right. This is no problem. Now, this thing began with, I want to say, JFK, because they didn't make a big stink about that because, him and his father, they had a lot of, mafia power. But they tried to do the desensitizing started with him and his many women. Actually, it started long before that. It started long before that. This whole thing about guys having, multiple female partners, or being rude and disrespectful to females, that ain't new. But look who they are throwing, under the bus as being, what they call it, sexual harassment. It started with the Kennedy boys. Then I think there was no one since then. I'm not saying it wasn't happening. I'm just saying that they didn't throw nobody under the bus until Bill Clinton. And then, they found, this is a really good tactic. You know why they found it was a very good tactic? Because of Bill Clinton. Because all of these guys came out with, Bill, go on, Bill. That's
right. They're like,
wow. Bill. And then, we can use this to desensitize the people. Now everybody and their mother is coming up on sexual harassment charges. And why? Because it desensitizes, especially if it's a guy. If it's a guy, they know that all of these other guys, Grill, Bill doing our damn thing. Bill Cosby, Bill's out there throwing some wild oats. Yeah, you do it, Bill. Right? And so now here they doing it with Trump, and ain't nobody batting an eyelid. But you've been desensitized.
Yeah.
You've been desensitized. I think they even did a poll. And asked the people that doesn't matter to them that their future president or this, anybody, that has had some kind of sexual harassment charges. And I think the poll came back, and the people's response was like, no, it happens all the time. They like expect it now. Oh, he's not out there screwing. He must be gay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a promiscuous president, but not a gay president. Hell no. He can be as promiscuous as he wants to, but he better not be gay.
Well, actually, again, we have nothing against whoever's sexual preference. We're not going against nothing. But check it out, though, I know. I'm saying they created a political jurisdiction where they gave what was called gay rights. They are thinking long down the line. So when they did this gay rights and passing these bills, and so-called bills, for all of this within their state, whatever for gay rights. They even those who are considered gay, whatever they call themselves as GL, whatever they call, whatever is politically correct for them, they didn't even realize that you got a debt to pay because they just created a political jurisdiction, and this is what they do. But here we are, Moors. We don't understand our political jurisdiction, which is the mother and father of all of this shit. And we won't take our place amongst the affairs of man, and we keep mumbling along, I'm a slave and I'm this. Look, we went to Ellis Island. We know what the plan is. It's not just because we went to Ellis Island. Everything that they had on their 5 principles, there's a book we got that refers to that, starting with the conquest intent into Terra Divina, basing it in their religious freedom right. Amendment 1. Basically, that's where it comes from. You have the right to practice whatever religion you want, but they said in theirs that if you don't agree with their religion, they can kill you. It's in their intent, which of course that's not right. That's why the Amendment 1 had to be there. I would think. Oh no. Just because someone doesn't believe in whatever religion you may have established for yourself or whatever like that, or go by or what have you, does not mean you have a right to kill them because that's a religious choice. Again, same for us. The prophet said, declare your nationality and your religion for that reason. So therefore, just because someone has a religion doesn't mean that they have the right to discriminate upon you, definitely to kill you, which is why we had to do the Amendment 1, because these fools is running as ministers of their own religion called Christianity, which was established for their earthly salvation. These are facts. These are not opinions. So, you read into Terra Divina, it's right in it. It's not hidden. Go to Ellis Island. They're telling you, conquest. Oh, conquest. Let me see what your conquest intent is. Go right back to Terra Divina. That's the conquest intent. Hello? So, I shouldn't have said hello, but, I'm just using the quote-unquote mark. So these are the things that, we really have to look at. So it's not about what they're doing, it's what they're doing. What are you doing? What's your political jurisdiction? Because when you claim your nationality, that does determine your political jurisdiction. And it ain't theirs. It ain't the same as theirs. What is your political jurisdiction? Now, what is your religion? If you understand religion for what it really is, and you understand that the established pseudo-Christianity coming out of the Christian Crusaders who want to kill you, then you understand why that's their intent. They didn't mince words on that. That's why they're out there in the street killing you. They're just practicing their religion. When are we going to get that? So we have to understand or understand that you invited them on your land, kind of, sort of. I mean, yeah, the British brought them over here and left them to die, but, we established the rules of engagement, and that's what happened. Now, there's another treaty someone sent to me, and I don't know if you got a chance to see it. It's between the United States and the Turks. Let's talk about that. First of all, the Turkish, in it has the names Bey, the appellations with Beys. There's 2 or 3 people in there that are Beys. Now, I recognize that it was represented as a representative of the United States of America, okay, which they used that, and then they turned it into the, what did they turn it into? They used another terminology, when they signed off and it says president, right? This isn't even the United States. This is something that's between 2 other people, and it deals with commerce and commerce only. Does it not? You did see that much on it, right? That it's dealing with commerce.
Right, it is.
It is. It's a commerce. But what's interesting is that it has Menamenli Newman Bey and Zakai Bey, all right? And these are representatives, it says the United States of America, to the Turkish Republic, right? Now, hold on. Somewhere it changes when it goes to sign off, because they don't really have that authority, but they call it American delegation. What American delegation? We have to go through this and really look at it. But what's great is that it does at least tell you, like when they say they don't know who a Bey is or who Moors are, they're just, you know that's not true. You don't need this to know that. You can look at the Treaty of Peace and Friendship that allowed them to come over here and sail with their banner, the Star Spangled Banner, and after all of the chaos, and then once they got here, the rules of engagement upon the land. And that's the only thing that you as Moors need to be concerned about is enforcing the law. That's why the prophet said, if you don't do anything else, and he said to the supreme issue is to enforce the American Constitution. Now, a lot of people, because they're lazy or they don't think or they don't want to think that he was talking about the divine Constitution, you're supposed to enforce that too, because those are the bylaws of the institution, association, be it religious or with the religious affidavits of the MSCRA that you are supposed to definitely follow. But if you follow them, you will be learning government, because that's what it was, governing principles. So the lazy people that say, oh, no, he was never talking about the American Constitution, well, it's right there in Divine Warning to the Nation. He spells that out clearly. Well, that's why he warned you. You better come to these temples with your eyes open. If you don't come with your eyes open, you're going to get slapped up, because they've already been infiltrated. This is not a secret. They're done. The prophet shut down the Adat chamber a long time ago, long before he even passed for him. So don't be trying to go in and make it to the Adat chamber, because it really was shut down. All that shit is infiltrated. Most of the people, the whole institution was infiltrated. The whole thing was infiltrated. However, the only way you're going to know anything is to study his works and not what someone says about it. Now, again, we always push the Canaanite temple with Cujo Adwa Il, Grand Sheikh Cujo Adwa Il, because of what we understand that he's running with those principles that were intended. That's what we do. And you can still be an honorary member there, even though you think that they're so far away. They have classes where they can teach you or give you classes online or what have you, however they work that out. And you forget that Canaan land is North America. Many people forget that just because modern Europeans put a sales territory tag on it. Because originally, I think it was Nova Scotia is what they called that part up there. And just because they put their little names, their little fictitious borders, which they have no real reality with, does not mean that you are supposed to not know where you are and what is what in terms of this being your ancestral estate, no matter what someone else says. It is what it is, and it can't be bought, it can't be sold, it can't be transferred, so none of that happened. There were no beads that really bought New York, or what we call New York. None of that really happened because an ancestral estate can't be bought, sold, or transferred. All of it was a bunch of, if you will look at it, a bunch of chaos going on the land. That's all it really was. And that chaos had to be ended by the law of the land, period. And everybody was put in place. Because the modern Europeans was running around looking for anybody to assist them, anybody to make an agreement with them until the representative of the Moorish, Morocco, that's where we are, not the kingdom, but Morocco, Al-Morocco, until that came down, and with that was the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and allowing them again to sail on the seas to this location, and then and settle and do commerce and try to survive and take care of themselves. And then the law of the land, which was rules of engagement on the land. Moors, that's all you need to be concerned about. Moors, that's all that you haven't been concerned about. We've been done everything else except that. Time to do that. Because if we collectively do it, this thing is over. There is no power that can be had because the Constitution in itself is written in the spirit of divine law. It is. And that's why they call it the oldest document. Well, it's the longest running document. Well, no, the treaty is actually. So that's why they say it's old, although it appears to you that it's only 200, 300 years old. But it's the tenets, it's the principles that are based in divine principles, and this is what we have to enforce. That's why it's divine and national. And everyone must answer up. I don't care who you are, you got to answer up. to a nationality. You have to. You have to, which really means your family. That's really what it means. It means your family, where you came from, who you are, bloodline. So, and so now you know that what we're saying is right and exact because, look, all you get is commercials all over the place where they're trying to talk about how they did their family tree and found out that they were things that they're not. Oh, I'm a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I mean, it's the call of the day. So we need to just get our heads out of the sand, wake up, and simply take our place. It's not a big deal. But I'll tell you, you can't expect nobody to help you from afar, international or otherwise, until you yourself claim who you are. You cannot claim an inheritance if it's a cat inheritance. You can't be a dog and receive it. Let me put it to you like that. I think that's the best way to say it. So, are you still on the line? I knew you had to skip.
Yes, I am. I am here.
You hear what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. It is 10 minutes after 3, and technically the broadcast has ended, but I think we have one caller that's been in there for a while.
Yeah, all right.
So we're going to take in one caller in the broadcast. I think that this is Sister Energy. Islam, Sister Energy, are you there?
Islam, family, how are you?
Is that you, Sister Energy?
Yes, this is me. Can you hear me?
All right, yes.
Yeah, this is for the call. I'm glad I got the text. And you know, there was class today because I had class later that I head up as far as a work study group for us, young-minded Moors and everything. And I appreciate the references that the mothers have put on the record for us to go and navigate through to once again build up our spiritual selves, true self, knowledge and everything. I appreciate you all pointing out the lower self, higher self when you're encountering circumstances or what have you. You know, that's pretty much once you get in the mind frame of spirit first, you pretty much can equate that the things that you're encountering are basically either lower self or higher self possibilities. Experiences, what have you. And then, hopefully you're wise enough to know when to, keep going or maybe turn around, do something different, so forth and so on. But I do appreciate everything that you all do, as I always say. And I appreciate the fact that Annie reached out yesterday, but never called.
I know. I saw that. Yesterday was kind of a really, really busy day. So, but
that was kind of weird to me. I was just hoping that everything was okay.
Oh yeah. No. Mm-hmm. No, I intend to call you today.
Okay. Yeah, I was a little bit concerned when it, after some time had passed. I got caught up in sewing and everything like that. But the secret books of John, you say we can get that off of RVBey, right?
No. Listen, the secret book of Jesus is the secret teachings. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me clear this up. The Secret Teachings of Jesus was a book that has 5 different books in it, and it was published by the Gnostic publisher. I think I don't have the cover with me, but the Book of John is one of the Book of John is one of the books in it. There's a Book of John, Gospel of John, Book of James, Gospel of James, and a Book of Thomas. I believe those are the 5 writings that are inside this book. So you can get the whole book, but the Book of John, which is inside the Secret Teachings of Jesus, is what we put up on the site on the sister setting on the page. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Great. So I'm definitely offer that to the family because, like I said, myself personally, I've always given my testimony that the Most High, developed my spiritual side first, or the divine side first, before I even got into the so-called movement side of it. As a young woman, I did not care for the so-called thought of politics. However, now I realize that politics is merely the exchange of information. So I need to be cognizant of, information.
Wait, hold on a moment. Hold on. Did you say you didn't care for politics at first?
As a young woman, I didn't, because I had a misperception.
Okay. Right. It means when you claim your nationality, that does determine your political jurisdiction. So you understand that now.
Oh, yes, definitely. But again, like I said, if it wasn't for me, doing the spiritual work first, or, developing my spirit self, having a great relationship with self, that's why I am energy. It's real simple, So it's easy for me to comprehend things that come across my path in this walk, being a Moorish American, being a Moor, being a ancient Moabite, return. It's so easy for me to get it, but it's amazing how many people around me, especially mothers, it's not there. So whatever text that's available, I give them all kinds of resources that I've utilized in just my day-to-day. Now, granted, I may not need to still, delve into research this thing and that thing, search a thing out. Like I said, it's all energy, so I'm clear. However, you need to still feed yourself beneficial information. So therefore, I'm real particular about what I do take in. Like I enjoy the fact that we have MHHS, Eyes Wide Open, Sisters Standing on the Law, Sons of Allah, the Moorish Heritage School, Nationality and Principles. I appreciate having the access to that kind of information. I share that with the group. I appreciate other resources that I utilize that more or less deal with spiritual type things. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Abraham Hicks, but that is one of those things that I've been taking in for a number of years, and the way it speaks to the people that come to get the message from Abraham. And it's supposed to be an energy working through some female. And I don't know if you all know anything about that type of energy. However, I find it to be most beneficial, and I have yet to see anything or hear anything that has been relayed through it that does not bring the person back to what they truly are. And their biggest thing is do what feels good. That's what you came here to do. You came here to feel good. You didn't come here to be miserable. You didn't come here to be afraid. And when you are, like for me, I am so grateful to be a part of the Divine and National Movement, the Moorish Divine and National Movement of the world. I'm grateful to be a part of that, because in this physical realm, I could be wrapped up in so many things that are non-beneficial, so distracting, so destructive. But this right here is most beneficial. It's uplifting. It keeps you busy, because you're going to be studying as long as you're on this planet in this form, because there's so much that we don't know. Taking in the Confederation, taking in the Constitution, taking in the treaties, taking in just being in proper jurisdiction. You got to study these things, and that's another reason why I'm dealing with the spirit part first, because, like you said, people want to know how to get a house or how not to get, pay the mortgage, or, that's the first thing to come to mind. It's like, no, you're not even ready for none of that. And even if you do when you go to RVBey publication, give yourself at least a year before you even start thinking about going out here challenging and, putting a writ together for this, that, and the other thing. And in that time span while you're studying, if things come about, and you have to address that issue, then do so, but do know your family is here. Now, but don't just jump out there, oh, you told me you Moorish American on Wednesday, and next Monday you up here talking about you trying to sue the water company for, fraud or whatever the case may be. And it's like, no, see, you're putting the cart before the horse, and it's not going to work out well for you. And then that's where people start looking at each other or looking at the work that's being done by the most active Moors I know of, Anna Mead, RVBey, Taj Tariq, Mizraim, Kudra Adel, and there's a handful of other ones that I can speak on. Then they get to saying that, they didn't do this or this, another thing. I remember last class someone was saying that the RVBey publication site was a 501c3 organization. Are you kidding me? Come on now, people, stop it. You know, what's the purpose? Why would you know, Sister Ross ever need that when she's Moorish America? She's already free and clear. This is her ancestral estate. She don't need nobody's kickback. What is they kicking back? They don't have anything to kick back.
Exactly. And then when we really read into that, it's like they made statements like they must be a 501c because they're on Dun and Brad Street, and we already dealt with that and said that's not true. That's a reporting you know. So they don't even know what they're talking. They don't even know. No, but yeah.
You know, so I'm just grateful that I can get the information. And I can keep, you know, whenever I dispense the information, hey, if I don't know it, I don't know it. And I don't have a problem saying I don't know. But nonetheless, I did do a little talk on Wednesday at the library. It wasn't much of a turnout, which I understand. It's no big deal, but I was grateful to be able to share that information, have some Europeans in the house and everything because it was at the library. You know, so, and they found the information, you know, something that they would look into themselves. Because at this stage of the game, because the way the plan is being overran by corporate mindset, we need to make sure that we remember that we're not corporations, we're natural people, and there's laws that govern that whole process. And then there's laws that govern the corporation, and we have to be clear about the distinct difference between the two. You know, and I always explain it to people as, okay, do you work at Walmart? They say no. Okay, so why would you allow Walmart to dictate to you what you can and cannot do in your entire life? And that's exactly what you're doing with this U.S. corporation. It's a company, and their policy, their employee handbook has nothing to do with you until you engage them in contract, but then you will understand how to enter into contract, make yourself not liable to their policy, statutes, codes, or you will not acquiesce to them over the law of the land, which is the Constitution. And I'm learning that a lot of people really don't have so-called faith in the Constitution or the contract, the law of the land. You know, well, the Constitution don't mean nothing. They don't listen to the Constitution. They don't listen. It's not for them to listen. It's for you to listen. It's for you to know, and it's for you to uphold it.
Thank you.
It's that
That's
simple.
the whole point. They're the ones that are breaking the law against you. That's the whole point. They have more faith in the quote-unquote they, which need to be identified as who they are, which are municipal corporations and their employees who are contractors in the first place. And so the people, Moors, will say what you just said, and that shows you, like, they're not going to get it straight if they don't get it straight, because they're occupying your land. The purpose that it was written was so that you wouldn't get molested by them, which is why we are, because of that very statement that person made. See what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Exactly. And also, yeah, we could say it's a municipality, corporation, and all the subsets, but it really just still comes back to lower self. Yeah, the lower self don't care about the contract, but your higher self is what put it in place. So, of course, the higher self is going to uphold it. So if you can get yourself back in alignment with lower and higher self, recognize what they are, who they are, how they operate, so forth and so on, and then decide within self, what are you going to uphold? You're never going to get rid of your lower self. It will pass away, but not when you're in this physical flesh. When you're in this physical flesh, you're going to always have that battle. And it's sometimes it's a traumatic battle because you are not clear that that's where the battle is at. And it manifests in the rest of your life when you have that serious struggle going on, when you are fighting against lower self and higher self. But when you can get that levelness about the two, things move fluently, like air. I'm an air sign, you know, and things in my life move like that. Now, yes, there's some work that needs to be done because of the so-called social engineering that has taken place, but that's just a learning thing. You got to learn what social engineering is. How does it work? How does it apply to you? You know, do you have the characteristics of the side effects of social engineering? It's easy to look into these things, but you got to have knowledge of self. That's why I appreciate what Drew brought back to us and all the work that he's put forth for us to take and free a whole nation, but use it to free yourself. Because when you do that, the nation is becoming free. And that's why another reason why I'm so excited and I'm happy about it because I know I'm free, even if I give information to, my sister or my brother or my European sister or brother, and they don't do anything with it. I don't care, because I'm doing it for me anyway. And I told them, so when it comes time to, if you possibly have to encounter me, okay, you might deal with this sleepy Moor as a Negro, black, or colored. But, when I come through turbaned up, you already know who I am, and we ain't even had that conversation. Act accordingly. We can get through this process and keep it pushing. And I do desire that for everyone, but not everybody is meant to, make it through, because there's casualty to every war. I'm going to yield the floor on that one.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, well, we're in a war, that's for sure.
But our primary war is a mental. The primary war that we're in is a mental war with ourselves, and the sooner we can recognize that, the better we'll be able to start working on self. But as long as people are running around trying to save everybody else when they haven't even begun to work on themselves, things are going to stay the same. And sisters just, everybody got to wake up, but especially the sisters. Especially the sisters.
That's the hurt piece right there. Because, I like I said, I do a lot of interacting with, people, what have you. And I generally have favorable responses. I do. They're favorable. I mean, I can gather a crowd in like that, especially with youth. I love the fact that I'm able to do that. Just this past week, there were some young men in the area down where I came to see you, Roz, when you visited the territory. And they were out with these little clipboards or whatever. And a young man approached me and Sister Dana, and I was like, okay, before you start, what's your nationality? And he's looking at me. He's totally just blank. I would have called him a zombie in all honesty, because I had asked him, a few questions. I asked him that first. And then I asked him, okay, so what's on your clipboard? I said, is that program right there, does it tell you anything about nationality? Yes, ma'am. I said, really? I said, I just asked you what was your nationality. You didn't even know. So I know what's on. I said, you know what? Hold on, sweetie. There about a thing. And then I was talking to him for about 2 minutes, and then I guess two more of the people that was out there with him, they were all sons. And he waved them over. They all stayed there until I said, thank you for your time. You feel what I'm saying? So that's what I appreciate. That's what I get when I'm out here and I start sharing the information, recognizing who we are as Moors, correcting the spell that has been cast at least. And I feel that it's more effective because it is so-called mother than a son. A son's been out here doing the work for quite some time. Think about it. It was Noble Drew Ali. It wasn't, Noble Catherine Bey. You feel what I'm saying? It was our son who came back and did the information because we were asleep.
Well,
but the work is ours. So the work is ours, and we need to do the work. And my biggest opposition, yes, it is, our sisters. Now, I know it's not within myself, but at least I'm clear enough to see that whatever social engineering that this individual sister has gone through or is indulging in, it is more appealing to her with all her complaints, with all her dissatisfaction about her present situation, with all her falsities about her love and Jesus and the Lord and all that, she still will not do what is necessary to release herself from the bondage that she finds herself in. She won't do it. And that right there, that's why I say there's casualties to every war. So those are the biggest oppositions. It's the mothers. The mothers don't want to acknowledge that they were incorrect, that they were misled, that they misled their children. I don't know. Is it that they take offense? I don't get it. I mean, come on now. Before I learned about Noble Drew Ali, I knew there was no such thing, or let me put it this way. There's never been a man that ever walked the earth in any race, creed, or color by the name of Jesus Christ. I knew that. I was grateful that I didn't get caught up in the whole dogmatic, what they call in religion. I wasn't instilled with that, so, But I know a lot of our mothers, sisters have dealt with that, and they're dealing with that still, and they're still perpetuating that same garbage, and then they're not even realizing that Biblios Heliotext is a cosmology book, so you got to start learning astrology again. You got to learn the, natal charts. Find out where you're at on your chart. What was your moon sign? What is your sun sign? How does that play in your life? And then, that stuff don't matter. Really? You wonder why you and your partner don't get along. 9 times out of 10, y'all signs that don't even match. In romantic relationship, y'all might be a match maybe in business or some other venue, but as far as lovers, y'all don't rock at all. But we can get that knowledge because it's right there. And it's actually right in their hands, but they can't see that. They take the Biblios Heliotext as a literal thing. They're looking at, flesh and blood people walking. And, no, not all of it is that. Most of it is just dealing with the stars, the movement of the stars, the movement of the planets, the energies that these things, govern. And then it lets you be reminded that your body is a mirror image of the universe. So that's another reason why when you were saying, Roz, about the temple, you got to be good to the temple. But again, yield the floor.
All right. Islam.
All right, Islam. And that concludes this broadcast of Sisters Standing on Law. Make sure and check us back here Tuesday at 9:30 for Principles of Nationality in Action, followed by Wednesday, Moor's Heritage and History School.
Which
and
will
then
be there. We're going to be
yes, and we will be there. We will actually be there in the flesh. And then this Thursday, the 20th, we have Sons of Allah at 9 p.m. So we have a full week and full of a lot of information, great information for everybody to take and internalize and use for themselves. And with that, peace and love to everyone.